Hi, I'm Kaitlyn, and I'm so excited to share with you this interview with Karuna DiLibero and Peter Malakoff, the hosts of the upcoming Aging with Grace retreat being held outside of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico this October 2023 only. And in this conversation, we talk about what is Ayurveda from their perspective, how can it help you in your life, whether that's with a health issue, finding a purpose, adapting to whatever life stage that you may be in. This conversation covers it all. And as you can see, Peter is just such a blessing to meet and to receive his teachings. He's an amazing storyteller and he pools just the right exact lesson for every individual from his vast library of knowledge. He's just spent so much time in India and with these teachings over the past 40, 50 years. And it's really such a blessing to be in his presence. And at this retreat with treatments from Karuna and myself, it's just going to be such a restorative and nourishing time. I can't wait to share it with you all. This retreat center, it's just so luxe. I've been to Vietnam before and I'm really excited to go back. Just the rooms are impeccable, the scenery, the private beach, the pool, just the environment is so rich and at the same time so at home. So I'm excited to share that with you. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Peter and Karuna.
So we're all here. I'm really excited to do this interview and just chat with you both and promote the Ayurveda and Aging Yoga Retreat.
Yeah, I thought we could just talk about introductions for you two and tell us, what sets you apart, what brought together this beautiful retreat, and what you're most looking forward to. So just kind of setting the stage for what you're working on.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Peter, how about you share with us first about your background, telling us how you got into Ayurveda. Of course, I'm sure there's a beautiful winding road that brought you here, but kind of in summary, and what is it about Ayurveda that really speaks to you the most?
Well, once in a universe far, far away. Okay. I'll start closer than that. Around 25 years ago, I had a heart attack, or what I thought was a heart attack. I was taken to the hospital. Now, I had been brought up by parents who were raw foodists, and I had an exquisitely good diet, I thought. And I had this heart attack, and I went to the hospital, and they said they had to insert a camera up into the heart through the groin and look around, and that's what they wanted to do. And I didn't want any part of that. So I was at home. I couldn't walk upstairs. I had a big business I was running, and I didn't know what to do. And friends of mine came and said, "You're a Vedic scholar." In college, I had gone to college in religious studies, specializing in Sanskrit and Vedic studies, basically. They said, "What about Ayurveda?" And I had never studied that aspect of life, Ayurveda. So I went to an Ayurvedic woman physician, and she did my pulse, looked at my body, this and that. And she says, "Oh, you have excess pitta. You're a pitiful person," she said. And so that, I didn't know what that meant, even though I'm familiar with Sanskrit and things like that. So I said, "Well, what does that mean?" She says, "Well, for you, you need to change your diet." And I said, "Like what?" And she said, "For instance, no tomatoes." I had 10 different kinds of tomatoes growing in my yard. I was really into tomatoes. Then she said, I said, well, like, what else? This didn't sound a good start. And then she said, no fermented cheeses. No fermented cheeses. I was known for, bringing in whole wheels of cheese from Italy or France in case, I knew, Guignon who could send us. So that's how it started. I had no other path that I could see. I took up the diet, and within a month, I was better from any heart issue at that time. But that didn't bring me to Ayurveda. It was just like, wow, this is good. What brought me to Ayurveda is that I had had herpes, genital herpes, for around 4 or 5 years before that. Every single month I had it. Completely ruined my sex life. And that stopped. It just didn't occur again, right there. And then that's when I realized I wanted to get involved with Ayurveda, because it goes to the root of a situation instead of the leaves of a situation, like on the tree. Western medicine is oriented towards treating symptoms. We're going to go up the tree, we're going to do something about this leaf. Ayurveda goes to the root of an issue, does something there, and then all the leaves on the tree are made better. So that fascinated me, and I went, originally I went to see Dr. Ladd, took a few courses there in Albuquerque. He was in Albuquerque at that time. And then I decided to become an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I went to college in India at Kalidas Sanskrit University in Ayurveda and got a degree there. So that's the shortened version of how I got there.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and your vulnerability of that whole healing journey. That's amazing. Karuna, maybe you can share also about how you think your teachings and what you bring really complement Peter, and how Peter complements you, and how you two work together, and how you foresee coming together and making something really beautiful.
Okay. I first met Peter last year in Ajijic because, as you know, I travel around in my RV through Mexico, and everywhere that I go, I'm always looking for like-minded people to work with and to study with or practice with. And I saw that Peter was teaching Ayurveda courses there. So I friended him on Facebook, sent him a message immediately, and introduced myself and told him that I was coming to his course. And then he invited me over to speak with, to his house to speak with him prior to that. So we just hit it off so great. I look at Peter like he's my brother. I adore him. I think that he is so wise and has so much knowledge to share because of his experience. And he didn't mention that he's lived in India for 10 years as well. And he has really extensive knowledge on Ayurveda and Vedic studies. And so I feel that we complement each other so well because he brings in the knowledge and I bring in the practical. So my focus and forte are Ayurvedic treatments and actually doing the hands-on part and making medicines. And so I'm an Ayurvedic health counselor. So I also give consults to clients. So Peter and I have that in common. And we both work on helping clients discover a more natural, holistic way of living and experiencing life and integrating different self-care practices into their daily life. So I feel like that's how, and plus it's the yin and the yang.
Yeah, the divine feminine, divine masculine coming together.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm still aiming at that divine aspect.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. The
Wow.
very first day of college, I went to school in Nagpur. That's like the Kansas of India. It's like dead center in India. It's kind of like a desert wasteland. Yeah, it's very hot. I don't like very hot, being a Pitta.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's where I went to college. And on the very first day of the incoming class, the head of the whole college came to address the incoming class. And the very first words he said were, everything in the world, without exception, everything is medicinal. That was the very first thing he said, absolutely everything. I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. And then he said, and everything in the world, without exception, is poisonous. So I said, whoa. And then he said, and Ayurveda will teach you to tell the difference between the two. So this whole course on Ayurveda and aging is part of the solution to that kind of koan of everything medicinal, everything poisonous, because everything also includes time of life, the distinct time of life. Like I can see you youngsters here in front of me. See that I'm in a whole different stage of life. I'm 71 years old, and things change. The whole environment changes. And so things that were medicinal or balancing or healthful at a younger age are imbalancing, not helpful in this age. So that's just to let you know that I'm jealous.
Well, thank you for putting me in the younger category there. I appreciate that.
You are.
Because as you know, though, I am going to be 52 next month and midlife. So, or even like, you know, I often think a little bit beyond midlife, because do I really want to live to 104? I mean, if I'm healthy, yes, but that's the point of this retreat too, is that we want to educate each other on how to age with grace and with health. And it starts with our lifestyle and our diet and our daily practices and our mindset.
Mhm, mhm.
And it starts at every age. And I'm 30, and I feel my body changing from 10, 20 years ago. And that sets the stage for when we do hit menopause or when we do hit those later stages in life, because as they say in Ayurveda, you know, it's all cumulative and everything is connected. So to approach this whole retreat or this experience with, I'm still learning and I'm, you know, going to adapt to whatever stage I'm in, there's something to learn from all of these ages.
Exactly. I mean,
See
we're
the-
aging from day one. We're all aging. We're all going through different phases. And I feel if we were taught proper life skills and proper self-care and really valued self-care instead of considering it as a luxury and having a spa day once a year or a couple times a year, but really doing this and taking care of yourself every day really creates the building blocks for health.
Mhm.
I kind of have a question for each of you to share, and maybe you can tag team each other's question. But for Karuna, can you tell me, for a woman, how would this retreat be really unique for that kind of, I mean, gender, I guess, but also, as we know, we both have masculine and feminine within us, but for women, I think our physiology is different. And how do you approach the healing from your perspective?
Well, I think it's especially important for women because women are the natural caregivers. They're the ones that do all the shopping, take people to the doctor, you know, they take care of the family. They're the nurturers, generally speaking. And so I feel that that's the model for the children and for the next generation. And if moms and parents aren't taking care of themselves, then that's what the children emulate. And so I think this retreat is really important for women, especially because they're constantly go, 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 give, 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 and they barely take time for themselves. So this is a great experience for women to take 1 week out of their year and immerse themselves in this completely personalized self-care program where we have a 16-page intake form, and we do the Ayurvedic health consult, and we give people their daily protocols and suggested diet and lifestyle practices. And that way, it's something that people can take and integrate easily into their lifestyle when they go home. And as they begin to change their lifestyle and take care of themselves, then they can integrate that and start teaching their children. And so when we start teaching each other these practices, everyone is going to be so much more healthy, happy, balanced, more emotionally stable, spiritually connected, because as this is a holistic practice, we're not just dealing with the physical body, but we're dealing with the emotional and the spiritual. The last few years is that people are feeling so disconnected and really don't have a spiritual practice. And I think that that's really the core of health.
Wow, yeah, to totally hit the reset button, and then you go home, you're not just, left hanging, but you get a follow-up with Peter, another 45-minute consult once you go home to realize, okay, what do I really get to bring in? What baby steps do I get to take to integrate? And as we know, it's not like a whole like 180 shift, although that could be the case. It's really just this like graceful transition into more well-being, more ease, and everything just falls more into place for like you said, the whole family unit, which is beautiful.
Yeah,
Peter's
and I think that 45-minute health consult that Peter is offering when people return home after the retreat is so crucial, because you have all this information, you're gung-ho when you get home, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden you're trying something and you're like, you know what? This isn't really working for me. And so that's a way that they can give feedback to the program, and we can tweak that, and Peter can really help with that and give them tools to really integrate it into their life, so that it's not something that they just learn and forget about and it's stored away. This is a practice that is intended for practical use, for daily use.
I
yeah,
can bounce off of that.
yeah,
Um,
please.
Ayurveda certainly applies to the body, the physiology, what to eat, what not to eat, what type of exercise, what type of drink, what herbs, because everything is neither poisonous nor medicinal. It depends, and it's what it depends on in terms of one's physiology. But it also depends and allows one to read the science of Ayurveda, one's environment. Living in Sedona, for instance, is a very dry, relatively, environment. I've been through there many times. I love that place. And for someone of a particular elemental makeup or predisposition out of the 5 elements of ether, air, fire, water, and earth, Sedona can be very balancing. But for a person who, for instance, is extremely vata or predominantly air and ether, Sedona would dry them out. Now I can see that didn't happen to you, because you're like the full moon. I mean, looking at you here, you see everything about you is like just full, moon-like, lunar. And so Sedona could be extremely beneficial for you in terms of an environment to live in. Whereas for a different person like Audrey Hepburn, it would not be. See, because she's already drying out. Or so you not just gain something about your health, but how to read the whole world, all your experiences, all the elements, everything, time of day, time of life, season of the year, all these things are read in an elemental fashion using the 5 elements, which is what Ayurveda is based upon, the 5 elements, the Pancha Mahabhutas. So I was just saying that Ayurveda is not just the science of health, but it's a science that allows insight and understanding, a valuable understanding of elemental qualities everywhere, of the time of day. Did I talk about that? Season of life, season of the year, not just your dosha, but your dosha and how to read the environment relevant to your dosha. Because in Ayurveda, a fundamental principle of Ayurveda is like things, like qualities, increase one another. Unlike things, decrease one another. And so if one goes to Sedona, and is like full of the moon and the water element, one is balanced there, feels balanced. But if one is already full of dryness, constitutionally, and they go to Sedona, then it will dry them out further over time instead of balancing them. So that's part of the beauty of Ayurveda. You go to a medical doctor, Western medical, and they're just going to prescribe for a symptom. You have arthritis, do this. But Ayurveda wants to know, is it Vata? What type of arthritis is it? What elemental particular imbalance or prominence? Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, what we call the doshas. And then it would treat the balancing that dosha, that elemental quality that's out of balance. So when we talk about Ayurveda and aging is like Sedona. Sedona has a sense of ancientness to it. It's not like, it's not a lush jungle there. And Sedona is dry and is hard and is rough in terms of the elemental qualities of that. And so the foods that should be eaten there, the activity that should be undertaken there, all that is taken into account in Ayurveda. Sorry, let me just turn this off. And so in that sense, it doesn't just address the arthritis that this person comes with, but it addresses an understanding of how they can balance themselves in all the ever-changing environments of the world. And in that, it's an invaluable science. It goes beyond just what we call medicine. It's really the medicine of balance in life and how to understand life elementally. So aging. What's that?
Tell us about the environment of Via Ananda and the place where you are coming together.
Nice. Good. You keep me on point. Well, the best person to talk about that is somebody who's been there. So I turn it over to you.
So what would you like to know about Via Ananda? Anything specific? I mean, there's so much to say.
What is the energy there? What does it feel like? What is the accommodations like?
Okay.
What do you think is like the flow of an experience there?
Okay, it's really amazing. The flow of the experience will be, it's all inclusive. So Via Ananda is a luxurious oceanfront private Ayurvedic spa and retreat. And it's been around for the last 17 years. And it's owned by this woman, Lijah, who I feel is a twin flame of mine. And she really put her heart and soul into this whole space, creating this whole space. She is dedicated to her guru, and he's been there to bless the space. And so it just is so high vibe. Everything when you walk in, when we'll pick you up from the airport. So you don't have to worry about that. People will just fly right into Puerto Vallarta, and Paco, our friend, will pick everybody up from the airport, and he's a love. And once you get to Via Nanda, you are enclosed in this private neighborhood, and it has a semi-private beach as well. So there's basically no one on the beach. When you first enter Via Nanda, you'll see a picture of Swami Venkatesh glowing from Elijah's office through the window there, and you first will see the Ayurvedic spa. And to the right of that is the house. So it's like walking into a big house, and it feels very homey, but luxurious. And she has that Indian flair. So it's got beautiful furniture and details that really make you feel like you're being transferred back to India, yet it's got a modern flair. She just created 2 new luxurious suites on the second floor, and some of the rooms have outdoor showers and their own outdoor bathtubs, which is amazing. We are offering private rooms or shared rooms, and they all have their own bathroom. And with the shared rooms, a lot of the bathrooms have 2 sinks, so everyone will get their own sink and their own space. There's lots of little nooks and hammocks and lounge chairs to relax on, and there's a beautiful view of the ocean where we'll have our meals outside. And there's also an indoor living room space, which has a really beautiful grand table in there. And there are murals painted everywhere, so it just feels very relaxing and comforting, and it's such a safe, healing space. And then you walk in over to the spa, and there's the office, and we have the orange spa room, and it has all the traditional Ayurvedic equipment. We have the traditional Ayurvedic wooden table for all the oily treatments like Abhyanga and period chill and things like that. And we have the Shirodhara and all the equipment there, and the steam box for Swedna, so people can get really sweaty. And there's also a couple bedrooms that are available in the spa too, if we fill the whole retreat. And the maximum number of people that we're taking is 16. So it's going to be a small group, which is really nice. So everyone will get individual attention from Peter and myself. And people aren't going to feel hovered over or confined. We have a lot of free time booked in for people, as well as lots of Ayurvedic treatments for people. And then we're going to also have different dinacharya practices, when we'll teach people these self-care practices, and that way they can easily continue them when they get home. And yeah, it's an amazing place. And then I don't know if you heard me say that there's also a pool there. So if people feel that they are intimidated by the ocean or it's too rough that day, they can cool off in the pool.
Nice.
It's a big difference than Sedona.
Yes, it's
In the
And a
sense
lot of
in-
America.
environmentally.
very green, lots of palm trees, so you can just relax in the hammock and hear the wind blow through the palm leaves, which is one of my favorite sounds while you're listening to the ocean. And in October is the beginning of whale season, so lots of whales come down from Alaska, and so if you're lucky, people will be able to see the whales jump out of the ocean.
I think it's the Mexico internet. You said the whales jump out of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter, maybe you can tell us about how you think men can benefit from this, because I feel like so much of the retreats that I've experienced and I've observed are predominantly women. And yes, we definitely love that self-care practice, but do you think that this is something that men can really benefit from?
Well, because men suffer from dis-ease, just like women, but it's suffered differently. With women, the big change of perimenopause, menopause, it's huge and it's well known. With men, because of the hormonal change as well, but not as dramatic, and the aging factor in general. There's all sorts of things that are unique to men, like women don't suffer from prostate, for instance, enlarged prostate issues. Women don't, well, no, I shouldn't say that, but men, their orientation towards sexuality tends to decrease. There's a lot of factors that are unique to women. There's a lot of factors that are unique to men, but the underlying quality of health, in other words, of well-being, of feeling at ease, however old you are, can suffer in both women and in men. So although it's not as dramatic and outwardly shown, we don't lose our ability to give birth to children or get pregnant or lose our periods. There's still a tremendous amount of aging qualities that is unique to men. And
can I mention something too? Because
Sure.
what I also hear and see with people is that people think that these different symptoms like inflammation, weight imbalance, hormonal imbalance, mood imbalance, diet or digestion and sleep issues are a result of getting older. But that's not necessarily true. That is a result of lifestyle and diet choices. And
well,
so, especially with men, when they get that big pregnant basketball looking belly, that is not normal. Peter, stand up. Show us what you got.
I have zero belly.
It's
In
true.
in Ayurveda, in the Vedic tradition,
We made 'em.
aging is a disease. That's what it's a disease that has no cure. It can only be palliated. In other words, it's not like, oh, you're aging here, take this or do this, and then you won't age. Like, I know I look young for being 71, or people tell me that all the time. But aging is an inevitability, and it's a disease that can only be palliated, not cured. So everybody, dies. Everybody gets old and everybody dies. Now, they don't have to die from a chronic illness. They don't even have to die from an acute illness. Like both my parents just died of old age. But I'm sensitive to the fact, I don't want to promise people, it will do away with aging. What it will do is it will make aging less of a suffering. It will lessen the suffering in aging. But aging itself is a disease. In other words, there's some suffering involved. This goes back to the Vedic tradition of Buddha. The four noble truths were, the very first one was life is dukkha, life is suffering. And, because what he said, because of birth, disease, old age, and death. These are inevitabilities. So I know that doesn't go, you still there? She's still there. I know that, so I'm real sensitive to bringing that in. I think that's important to balance the idealism of the West, where you get old, then you just go down to Florida and you play golf for the rest of your life. It's like, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way for anybody. There's a period where you can play golf, but, so I think that the original ancient context of Ayurveda is that aging is a disease that can only be palliated. And it's inherent in life is death and aging. So on that happy note, we'll just invite people to come.
Yeah, it's a huge takeaway and cultural difference from India and Indian teachings from what we are used to in the West of death being a sad time and something to be afraid of and something that is
Avoided at all costs.
yeah. And one of the big teachings I received when I was there in January was that actually our soul cries when we're born. We come out crying. And actually, we leave in peace. When you see someone pass, I saw my grandfather pass last month, and it was just like a wisp in the wind. It was just like a release, and it was really peaceful. And it's actually everyone else that makes it sad.
Yes. Yes.
So, what is this? What is that whole I don't know, this like dissociation with death
Well, I
and
think that
then
it's a cultural thing, in India, they look at people more from a spiritual context. Like I was saying, it's a cultural difference. It's the way that you hit the nail right on the head. It's how we grow up and it's what we're taught. And in India, as you notice, I mean, I also have lived in India, and I mean, we all have here for a little bit of time, some of us longer than others, but when you really immerse yourself in Indian culture, you realize that people are looking at each other, yes, as a human being, but also as an eternal soul that never dies. And if you read the spiritual texts from India, like the Bhagavad Gita, where it's all about the human struggle about death and dying and living our truth. And, Krishna, who represents God in that text, is talking to Arjuna, who's representing us as humans, and he's the warrior that has to go to war and hold up the dharma, the path of righteousness. He has a meltdown because he doesn't want to kill anybody. Krishna kind of snaps him out of it and is like, who do you think you are? You cannot kill you. The body will die. It's like a piece of clothing that we wear out and discard over time, but the soul is eternal and you cannot kill the soul. And so I think that is the core difference. And the reason why in India people look at death as a transition to the next stage, so to speak, in this adventure of the soul, this journey of the soul. Whereas I think, I grew up in the United States, very Catholic, and with an old school Italian family mentality. And once you die, that's it. This is your one time, so you better get it right. So there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of clinging and holding on, because if this is our one go at it, then, and if we don't get it right, then people really will begin to suffer internally with regret, shame, whatever it is. But if we look at it in a larger picture, which is what I love about the whole philosophy from India, is that this is one stage. We keep evolving and evolving and evolving, and we come here in this life to learn our lessons. And if we don't, we repeat those lessons again. And the idea is that we are all here to learn our spiritual lessons, whatever it is. And we're all here to support that upliftment of consciousness with each other. And then, then they say we enter into the age of the sattva age, the age of the, where everything is
balanced.
Yeah, in harmony.
By the way, Arjuna was not afraid of killing in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was afraid of sinning. He was afraid
That's
of
true.
sinning.
You're right. Yeah,
His issue, he was a warrior. He killed a whole bunch of things.
It's true. It's true.
And but in this particular situation, it would be a sin to kill relatives and teachers.
Yeah, because he's going against, he has to fight against his family and people that he loves.
And so over the course of the Bhagavad Gita, first Krishna lays out the Dharma, do this, do that, you're the soul, you're the eternal, you can't kill anybody. And then finally, he goes through Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. And then in the end, in the 18th chapter, he says, you know what? I'm misquoting here purposefully. Screw it. He says, abandon all dharmas. This is in chapter 18, verse 66. Forget all this stuff I just told you. Forget about it. Because none of it is ultimately curative. And he says, just take refuge in me alone, whatever the heck that means. There's a lot of interpretations of that. But see, that's also what is being said, in my opinion, with Ayurveda, when they say aging is a disease that cannot be cured. See, Krishna says there is no right dharma, bhakti yoga, jnana, that you're in this situation. There's no way out of it. This is the dilemma, choice between equally undoable alternatives. And that's how Ayurveda says aging is a disease. You're going to age. If you're born, you're going to age. And if you're going to age, you're going to die. And that's just the way it is. And so, whereas there's no God to take refuge in, there's a principle or law that we should be reminding people of, I believe, in the teachings of Ayurveda, because it's part of the Vedic tradition. You know, same as the Bhagavad Gita. But that's why they don't let me talk anywhere, you see, because I just depress people.
Beautiful teachings.
They
And
are, really.
do you
Okay.
think that anyone from any religion can relate to this? And do you think there has to be one spiritual belief in order to accept this new understanding of eternal, reincarnation, perhaps, or whatever that soul progression is?
I used to be with, for years, I was back in the 70s, I was with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi for many years. You too?
Yeah.
You're a TM teacher?
Well, my teachers' teachers are all TM.
Oh, well, I was in Majorca and Fuji, and I was close with Maharishi during that period.
Wow.
And but one night he was saying, let me make sure I get this right. Let me drink something. Let me distract myself for a minute. I taught TM to the Strategic Air Command, the people who fly the B-52 atomic bombers. And I gave the first talks on TM to the United States Army in Fort Meade, Maryland. So I was like really involved with the movement. And one time I was with Maharishi, and we were in Madison Square Garden in New York City. And Maharishi is going to give a talk. The place was packed to the gills. This is at the height of the TM movement. And, Maharishi came in, he sat, and then he says, are there any questions? He had talked, and he asked if there were any questions. The very first question, they handed out a mic. Went to this guy who was way up in the stands. And he said, Maharishi, do you believe in reincarnation? That was the very first, and the whole place went silent. All the teachers were like, oh shit, this is not good. And Maharishi, he always had a flower in his hand. And he says, reincarnation is for the ignorant. And with that, it was like he split the arrow. See, because everybody who believed this is relevant to your question, do you need a new belief? Maharishi said the reincarnation is for the ignorant, because he split the arrow. Those who did believe in reincarnation, it's if you're not enlightened, if you're ignorant, and for those who didn't believe in that, well, yeah, that Maharishi's okay. He's not into this reincarnation shit. And that was a real lesson for me, because I was teaching to people, large groups of people who were not not exactly New Age, you know, the Army, the Strategic Air Command, places like that. So no, I don't think any belief whatsoever is necessary, any change. I don't think it's based on belief. It's based on experience. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't, show me somebody who didn't die. You know, I'm interested. You know, that's why there's this fascination with Jesus, you know. So not so in the Vedic Buddhist tradition. When Buddhism was, when Christianity was brought to Indonesia and taught to young kids, and the kids, and they were telling them about Lazarus and how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. And some young kid, you know, said, "Did Lazarus die later? Did he eventually die?" And the priest said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well," he says, "Buddha, you know, taught people to go beyond both life and death, not to prevent death." See, that was not the issue. So I don't see that it has anything. You don't have to believe that you can go beyond. We're just going to be talking about Ayurveda, aging, and how to balance it. If you think you're not going to age, don't come. That's great. You were associated with TM.
Yeah, I went to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's ashram when I was there in Rishikesh, and I haven't practiced much TM, but it's a really powerful tool, to my understanding. So,
you know, it was Maharishi brought Ayurveda to the West.
oh wow.
When I was with Maharishi at the course in Mallorca, Spain, I came down with kidney disease. I mean, serious kidney disease. I went to the course doctors. We were meditating 15 to 20 hours a day at the Mallorca course. I was, you know, I had a sign that said "silence on the room." I later found out all sorts of people were having affairs. I was completely oblivious. And so anyway, I came down with kidney disease, and the doctor said, "You had to have your kidneys taken out. And we can put you on a dialysis machine, then we'll get a transplant, hopefully." And I went to Maharishi and I saw him at 3:00 in the morning. I said, "You know, what should I do?" And he said, "Well, what would your mother say to do?" That was the first thing he said. And I said, "Well, my mother believed in fasting." He said, "You should fast." And so I fasted for 43 days on water. That's why I don't know why they make such a big deal about Jesus. He only did 40 days. This is a joke. Okay. But so I fasted for 43 days on water. And I came out of that not only cured of kidney disease, but in radiant health and with minor cities like clairvoyance and clairaudience. I mean, it was dramatic health. It was the cities of health. So I don't know why I told you that, but I think it's because you also associated with TM. But Maharishi brought TM Ayurveda to the West, and he rejuvenated it because it had been wiped out by the British for hundreds of years. 200 years, the British would punish with death any Ayurvedic doctor or practitioner. They would cut off their hands or kill them. It was considered a stupid, you know, backwards medical system. That didn't occur in South India so much because the British weren't down there because it was too hot and they were eating meat and drinking alcohol, and they didn't know about Ayurveda. You know, you don't do that. To this day in India, Buddhist monks who I taught at different Buddhist centers, Ayurveda, they are unaware that when you come down off of the Tibetan plateau and you start living in South India, you don't eat yak meat. You don't drink chang. You know, they were beer drinkers, a lot of them. And they knew about the medicinal practices of Tibet, but they didn't know how those practices would change in a different environment. And that's what we're doing with Ayurveda and aging, is like, this is a whole different environment when you start to get old. Things have to change for them to be beneficial to you. And so a lot of those Buddhist monks and communities would get sick because they were still eating the foods they were accustomed to on the Tibetan plateau of 11,000, 12,000 feet. They didn't realize that they had come into a different environment and that different foods were appropriate. And the foods that they have been eating up at 12,000, 13,000 feet are no longer appropriate. And just like that in Ayurveda and aging, we've come into a new stage of life. And things are appropriate now that were not appropriate before. And things appropriate before are inappropriate now.
Exactly. I also wanted to add too about your question, is this retreat for anyone, or do they have to adhere to a specific belief system? And, you know, the teachings that come out of India are universal. And, you know, as Peter can really expand upon, Ayurveda is a system of medicine that comes out of India.
Mhm.
And all systems of medicine are based upon Ayurveda. And what I think is what I love about it so much is that I like to call it kitchen medicine, because it's a lot of the remedies are things that you have already in your kitchen, or that you can easily access when you stock your pantry in the right way. And this is so important because this teaches people, like Peter was saying, to really start to get in tune with your environment. Like, ideally, we're not going to be eating a lot of fresh produce in the middle of the winter. You know what I mean? We would be eating more root vegetables and more warm foods like curries and soups and things like that. Whereas in the summertime, that's when we eat all those fresh fruits, the fresh produce and things. So, you know, we're teaching people how to eat in season. And with the Ayurvedic, so I feel that with the teachings of Ayurveda and these practices, when we learn about our individual unique constitution, we're able to make better decisions for ourselves on our lifestyle, what we eat, how we behave, what we wear, you know, how we relate in the environment that we're in. And it's basically, when you learn the foundation of Ayurveda, which we're going to share with people, your whole life changes, because you just look at life according to the 5 elements and their qualities and how they affect you. So it's very, I feel that it forms a very deep, intimate relationship with ourselves and the environment, which I think is something that's also lacking in our computer age, where people are moving from car to one temperature controlled box to another, you know.
What's interesting is that the age culturally that we're living in is extraordinarily vata, like aging.
Yeah.
And everything is very quick,
Mhm.
very mobile, very fast, very, you know, condensed,
Rough.
sharp edges. No, you know, it's not the smooth, like you go out into the villages of India and there's wheels going around with the pumps and with the oxen and with the cows, and everything is much more human. And it's less and less that way as technology evolves.
Mhm.
And now with this new AI, artificial intelligence, it's just, I have concerns for the future of our race.
Me too. But that's why we're here. We're here to keep the ancient wisdom alive, and it's available and accessible to anybody who is willing to learn about it. And so I think this knowledge is really great for people who do want to live a healthy, holistic life and in relationship to their environment, and have a harmonious, reciprocal relationship with each
Agreed.
other.
Agreed.
Well, I'm so excited for everyone to come and attend your retreat. And I hope that whoever needs to hear this will be hearing it. And whoever is drawn to you two as teachers, will come to find you, and any other closing words. I mean, there's just so much healing that can happen. I think we can go on, and hopefully we'll be back together again. For any kind of condition, allergies, cycle, hormonal issues, anything, this is like kind of a cure-all, but also it's so individually wrought for everyone to learn and to access that. Hopefully everyone that needs it will come. And any other closing prayers or intentions, that final thoughts you want to share?
Questions? What do you do? I want to know what do you do?
I'm also an Ayurveda counselor, yoga teacher, and I'm a real estate agent in Sedona.
Wow. And where is your cultural heritage?
I grew up in Wisconsin, and on my mom's side, it's German, Chinese, and my dad's side is Polish and English mostly.
Wow. That brings. Have you researched those cultures?
I think it's important for everyone to do their own research.
I agree because those represent very distinct, amazing blend of patterns, of understanding life, of living life, especially with the Chinese and the Western European together. Carl Jung felt that it was very important. He always noticed, he noticed often that people were not aware of their genetic background. And he felt that they were doing a disservice to themselves by not knowing that. I think that's great. What a wonderful, incredible mix.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you're so beautiful.
You're all beautiful souls. So thank you for sharing your time with me.
Thank you for doing this.
And if you ever want to do specific, like if you had perimenopause, you want to talk about arthritis, you want to talk about any disease symptom and the Ayurvedic understanding around it, call us up again.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think maybe we can take a poll and see if there are people interested in one thing or another. And
I know a lot of people who are interested in menopause, perimenopause, and all my friends.
That'd be a great
No,
subject.
we could just do that as a whole topic, because I was talking very generally, philosophically, allowing Karuna to give the details. And but we could go, I can also talk specifically, but
amazing.
So if you ever want to do that.
Yeah. Good. Hopefully soon.
Should we say a little closing prayer?
Sure.
Anything come to mind in particular?
Oh, for me? Oh, well, since we have another TM person here, I'll start with this. Apavitra pavitrova sarvavastan gatopiva yasmare pundare kaksham sabahya abhyantara shuchi. Whether purity or impurity is pervading everywhere or anywhere, whomsoever opens themselves to the unbounded expanse of consciousness or truth gains inner and outer purity.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, Kaitlyn.
Good. Okay, nice talking with you. It's nice to look at two beautiful girls.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. I'll sign off then.
Okay. Namaste, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Om apavitrah pavitro va sarvavasthan gatopi va yah smaret pundarikaksham sabbahyabhyantarah shuchihi. Om apavitrah pavitro va sarvavasthan gatopi va यः स्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं स बाह्याभ्यन्तरः शुचिः ॐ अपवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थां गतोऽपि वा यः स्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं स बाह्याभ्यन्तरः शुचिः.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Peter and Karuna, the hosts of the upcoming Aging with Grace retreat in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Please comment, like below, and share with your friends, share with anyone who you think would benefit from this conversation. If you have any questions or health concerns you'd like us to address, please also comment below or shoot us an email. If you have any questions about the retreat or about the center itself, definitely reach out. I'm so excited to share this with you and hopefully more conversations to come. I hope you take care and be well. Namaste. Thank you.